Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us from LinkedIn, YouTube, and other platforms. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or even good night, depending on where you are in the world. We are based in Toronto and we are live from Toronto. It's 5 p.m. here. So, good evening to everybody joining from Toronto and across Canada. Please type in the chat where you are joining us from. Also, type your target exam month, especially if you're planning to write the PMP exam before July. Since you can comment but cannot come on microphone, the chat is our classroom voice today. I'll keep checking it as we go. So here's the promise for the next 2 hours. I am not here to drown you in theory. I'm here to help all the PMP candidates feel understandable, practical, and exam ready. By the end, you should know what the exam really looks like and what it is testing, how PMI wants you to think, and how to approach scenario questions without panicking. And yes, PMP has many acronyms. If you feel like you have walked into alphabet soup, do not worry. We will turn the soup into a recipe today. So welcome everyone. Thanks again for choosing to spend time with us today. This is a free live masterclass, but I want you to treat it seriously because the PMP exam rewards serious preparation. This session is especially useful for those who are trying to write the current exam before the July 2026. The goal today is not to memorize every line on every slide. The goal is to understand the thinking behind the exam. PMP questions often look like real workplace situations. They ask, what should the project managers do first, next, or the best? So today we will focus on how a professional project manager thinks. Keep a notebook beside you. Every time I say this is an exam mindset point, write it down. Those points are gold for the exam takers. Alrighty, so here's our roadmap for today's session. We will start with a quick introduction, then talk about the PMP certification and why candidates often struggle. After that, we will spend a good amount of time on the PMI mindset for the PMP exam because that is where many marks are won or lost. So after that, we will cover selected core concepts such as governance, stakeholder communication, scope, value, risk, change, and project closure. We will finish with the next step so you know what to do after tonight. Because this is a 2-hour masterclass, I'll move with energy. Some slides will be quick than others. So the slides which deserve more discussion, we'll spend more time on that. And when I ask a question, please answer in the chat. Even one letter is enough, A, B, C, or D. That counts as participation. So before we jump into the course itself, there is a number of things we need to understand. Let me quickly introduce myself. I want you to know who is guiding you here today and why the session is designed the way it is. My teaching style is simple. I translate complex project management language and concepts into everyday language. PMP can sound intimidating, but most of the ideas are things you already see at work. We just need to connect your experience to the way of PMI mindset and how PMI frames PMP questions. So let's look into a little bit about instructor. So my name is Samia Bakar. I'm the founder of SNS Coaching and Consulting Services. My background is in project, program, portfolio, management, transformation, systems, strategy execution, change management, and PMP exam preparation. But here's what matters most for you. I do not teach PMP as memory test. I teach it as a decision-making test. When you sit in the exam, PMP is only asking if you are a real project manager, you understand the PMI mindset and you understand the best practices as per the PMI guidance. And PMI is not testing your memory or the definition test. PMI is asking, can you believe like a responsible project manager under pressure? So throughout today, I'll keep bringing you back to one question. What would a calm, ethical, proactive manager do in this situation? If you can answer that consistently, you're already thinking in the right direction. So, just to let you know that I'm one of the top certified from PMI with almost all major practitioner certifications. Feel free to browse my LinkedIn or my website for more information on that. Before we dive deep into learning session, a little bit about SNS. SNS Coaching and Consulting Services focuses not on exam success, but it focuses on real capability. That matters because the best PMP preparation should help you pass the exam and also help you lead projects better at work. Those two goals should support each other. We don't want to just learn the theories and concept here to pass the exam. Rather, I really want you to make sure that you step out of this class with a clear vision of what is your next goal, not from the exam perspective, but from actually taking your career to the next level. So wherever in your career you are at, this is one step to the next level. That I can assure you. Here is a quick overview of what we offer for our services. With our exam preparation packages, you get exam simulators, like a real exam, questions, 24/7 study partner that we have built, particularly simulating the PMI mindset and questions. You get a structured roadmap designed by me, and we meet you where you are at. So from my previous experience, I understand that people come to us with a lot of very diverse background, not from the knowledge or experience perspective, but there are other related technical or management knowledge. So some people already have their MBAs, or there are others who did take CAPM and then joining us. So we meet you where you are at and design a customized roadmap for you. We also provide application support. Our approval rate is great. Also, along with the live boot camp for 3 days, our next session is on May 8th. Feel free to browse my site and join the live bootcamp on May 8th. We currently have 75% off discount because we really want all the people to prep those who want to take exam before July 2026 when the exam changes. So along with the live bootcamp, I also provide 10 hours of one-on-one coaching where we really help you understand the mindset. We test you periodically to understand where you are at in your preparation journey. So all the effort results in clarity on how to approach exam. You gain confidence in handling scenario-based complex questions, and you build capability that you can apply into real life exam. So now let's talk about what the class will do for you. Think of today as a guidance tour. We cannot cover every PMP topic in full depth in 2 hours, as the full course is designed for 35 hours, but we can give you the map. Once you understand the map, your preparation becomes much more focused. So by the end of this session, you should understand how the PMP exam is structured today, what kind of questions you will see, and why many candidates struggle even after studying very, very hard. The biggest shift is from memorization to application. Older style studying was often learn the definitions and repeat it. PMP today is more like, here is a messy project situation. What should you do next? That is why mindset matters. We will talk about how to read a scenario, how to eliminate distractors, and how to choose the answer that is best. A lot of times, the uh, four options you get, they're all good options, and you have to pick the best. Other times, there are distractors. So we really prepare you for that in our session. We will try to cover a lot of mindset questions with practice questions today that would really help you to set the ground for your exam if you have scheduled one soon. So before we look at the exam questions or mindset, let's start with the foundation. So we need to agree on what a project is and why governance matter. This section is short, but it is important. If you understand project in simple language, the rest of the PMP becomes easier. So what is a project? PMP defines a project as a temporary initiative in a unique context undertaken to create value. Let us translate that. Temporary means it has a beginning and it has an end. It does not mean short. A project can last 3 days or 3 years, but it is not meant to run forever. Unique context means this effort has something special about it. Maybe the customer is different, maybe the location is different, maybe the technology is different, or maybe the problem is new and we are trying to solve it. Every project create values. Create value means there is a reason for doing it. The project should benefit someone. It might save money, create revenue, improve services, reduce risk, satisfy a regulation, or make your life easier. On the PMP exam, value is always important. So one thing to remember in a nutshell, that program is unique and short term and it has an end date. So if it's running continuously, it is not a project, it is operation. So this is a quick slide that let us understand what is project versus what is project, what is not a project. So I will pause this because this is a lot of theory. So we have 2 hours. I'm going to go to the next slide. So project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques. So that we saw what a project is, and now we are looking at what project management is. Project activities are managed to meet or exceed intended value. In plain language, project management is organized leadership. It is not just making a schedule. It is not just sending status report. And it is to help people deliver something valuable in a controlled, ethical, and practical way. Notice the word value again. PMP keeps moving you away from only thinking about deliverables. A deliverable is what we produce. Value is why it matters. So a project manager who only says we deliver the documents may still fail if the document did not help the business. So with that, let's move to the governance section. Governance is very important for you to understand as a project manager. Governance is a framework for directing and enabling an organization through policies, practices, and documentation. In everyday language, governance tells us who can approve what, how decisions are made, what rules we must follow, what reports are required, and what ethical standards apply. Good governance is not meant to slow people down. It is likely to enhance it. It is like traffic light. Nobody loves stopping at the red light, but without traffic lights, the road becomes chaotic. So projects need guardrails. so the speed does not become reckless. Let's now look at next slide. This shows what governance often includes. Structure, all right, so here we just want to quickly review what project management office is. But before that, I guess I have a comment that somebody wants me to go back to the previous slide. So this slide show us the governance often include structures, rules, procedures, reporting, ethics, and policies are not just office paperwork. They shape how the project team behaves. For the exam, remember this. If a question involves approval, compliance, ethics, reporting, or formal process, PMI expects you to respect governance. So do not pick an answer where the project manager acts like a superhero in your actual PMI exam. A PM cannot ignore the organizational policies. And this is where the governance kicks in. So the best project manager is proactive, but still disciplined. With that, let's look at the project management office. So we reviewed what project is, what project management is. Now we are looking at what PMO is, which is another a very crucial part of the jigsaw. A project management office or PMO is usually a team or department that centralizes project management support. Think of PMO like a combination of coach, librarian, traffic controller, and quality guard. It may provide templates, standards, training, oversight, communication support resources, and might coordinate or provide the documentation management. Important exam point, not every organization has a PMO, and a PMO can look different from one company to another. So do not assume the PMO always has the same power. Read the question carefully and see what type of environment you are in. So with that, let's move to different types of PMO. So as we said, there's no cookie cutter answer here. There's no standard PMO. PMOs can be drastically different based on my experience, depending on your industry, your organization, the country, the region you are operating, or based on the nature of the work. So a PMO that is public sector could be highly disciplined. A PMO that is maybe, making products for Amazon could be very different and might not be called PMO. So regardless of if it is called PMO or not called PMO, there is always a mechanism where the project is delivered as like a continuous, activity. So there are different types of PMO. A supportive PMO provides templates, guidance, coaching, and training. It is like saying, here are the tools and we are here to help. It is very important for you to understand the difference here because there would be some questions testing your knowledge here. A controlling PMO expects compliance. If you are dealing with a legal project, very likely you will have to control it because there's no flexibility. If government dictates a law, there's no flexibility and you have to make sure everybody abides by that. So that could be very controlling type of environment. It may check whether projects are following standards, policies, and procedures. Another type of PMO is directive PMO, and it may directly manage projects, resources, and communication. And an Agile Center of Excellence focuses on building agile capability, coaching teams, and mentoring sponsors and product owners. The PMP exam may not always name the PMO type, but it may describe behaviors. So your job is to recognize the pattern when you see a question related to PMO. Here is a quick, organizational, okay. So this is one of those topics students often mix up. So EEFs and OPAs. Let's make it simple. Enterprise environmental factors are conditions that influence the project but are usually outside the immediate control of the team. Think of them as the weather around your project. Examples include company culture, market conditions, regulations, technology, environment, and organizational structure. Organizational process assets are the company assets you can use. Think of them as an organization cookbook, templates, policies, procedures, lessons learned, historical data, and knowledge repositories. Exam memory line: EEFs are the environment you operate in, and OPAs are the assets you can use. So it's very important for you to understand these concepts. They influence your project. They would be external and internal and external EEFs or internal OPAs. So it is very important for a project manager to understand the environment your project is operating in internally and the industry or market it operates in, because that could be one of the most important point for you to remember when you're doing impact analysis. So I tried to cover most of the topics which you really want to understand in 2 hours time. So one of another really important point for you to understand and remember is that the difference between project, program, and portfolio. So if you are in project management domain, you understand that we deal with project is usually under a program umbrella if it's part of a program, or a program could be under a portfolio. So it would be helpful to understand what they are. A portfolio is a collection of subsidiary portfolios, programs, projects, and operations managed in a group to achieve strategic objectives. The purpose here is to align with business strategy. Program, on the other hand, is a group of related project, subsidiary programs, or a program activity managed in a coordinated manners to obtain benefits not available from managing those projects individually. The program usually controls components and interdependencies to realize the benefits. Project, on the other hand, is a temporary endeavor, as we saw before, to create a unique product, service as or result. Project enables achievements of organizational goals and objectives. So in few words, when we are talking about portfolio, we're talking about organizational strategy. When we are talking about programs, we're talking about somehow the benefit realization. And when we are talking about project, it's all about delivery. So we looked at a high level in governance, project governance in adaptive projects. So a common myth is that agile or adaptive projects have no governance. That's not true. Adaptive projects still need governance, but the governance should fit the way the team works. Instead of waiting months to see progress, adaptive governance may use iteration, goals, sprints, output, release dates, daily coordination, visible boards, and frequent review of value. The exam lesson is this: agile does not mean random. Agile means adaptive, transparent, collaborative, and value-focused. Governance should help the team deliver value, not trap them in paperwork, and that adds no value. With that, let's look at the next section of our class today. We'll learn a little about PMP exam here. The PMP is a globally recognized certification for project managers. It shows that you can manage people, process, and business priorities across different ways of working. That phrase, any way of working, is important. PMP is not only predictive, it is not only agile. It is an expectation for you to understand predictive, agile, hybrid, and tailoring based on the context. The certification is not tied to one industry or one country, whether you work in IT, construction, banking, healthcare, government, telecom, non-profit, or operations, the same leadership principles apply. The exam asks you, can you lead project responsibly in real situations? So, in a nutshell, PMP, the project management certification, is one of the very highly valued certification today, not just to manage project, but there is need to do work in every single domain, regardless of if you are in HR, finances, operations. We are entering in, actually, we have entered in a projectized economy, particularly with AI. We are at the crossroads, and our future state landscape of work could really look different. So there would be people who will be victim of AI, and there will be people who will grab this opportunity. And I think PMP is one of those certifications that will help you to prepare for the future state. So a little bit about PMP exam. Let's look at what domain is. So in the PMP examination, a domain is a high-level knowledge area that is essential to practice the project management. The PMP examination is structured around three domains: people, to me, the most important; processes, very important at the same time; and business environment. From exam perspective, here is a quick overview of the current breakdown of these domains, and you also have the new exam percentage. So without wasting time on that, I think we will go to the next slide. That would help us to master the PMP mindset that we are here today for. So the PMP exam is not just recall. It requires you to analyze the situation, evaluate possible responses, and choose the best action. That means you need to slow down mentally, even when the timer is running in the exam. Ask yourself, what is the real problem? Who is affected by that? What process applies here? And what should happen first versus what should happen next? The word first is very important. Sometimes all options are things you may eventually do, but the exam asks what to do first. Usually, you assess before acting, communicate before surprising, engage before escalating, and follow process before implementing. So, this is what we will be reviewing in the upcoming slides. Another very important point here is when practicing question, focus on these bullets. Do not only check whether you got the answer right, ask why the right answer is right and why the wrong answers are wrong. This is where growth happens. If you only count scores, you may feel busy, but do not improve. If you study the logic, your brain starts to recognize PMP patterns. From today onwards, where every practice question should give you 3 lessons. What concepts or concept was tested? What trap did the wrong answer use? What mindset did the correct answer show? And this is called active learning. Guys, this is how I pass most of my exams. As you can see, I have PMP, PGMP, PFMP, risk certification, ACP, and a lot more. And I am a mother of 6-year-old, and I'm very, very busy professional. So I passed all my exams by understanding the mindset instead of cramming. In some situations, I didn't even have the time to read the full book. I would play the audiobook and I will listen it while I'm driving, or I'm working, or I'm in the kitchen or playing with my son. So one, just tip I can give you here, that if you are looking to do your PMP exam for a while, do it, because there would be never a right time to do it, and you will never have extra time. We really operate in very, very busy work environment, and our life is very busy too. Nobody has free time to spend. So we'll have to make time available, and you need to understand the mindset. And that is where I'm going to spend a lot of time here, because I know if you have worked as a project manager for 3 years, and if you have at least looked at the core concept once, and if you understand the PMI mindset to write PMP exams, you will be in a very good situation to pass the exam. So one core concept here is that keep the project vision current. So with that, we want to understand what is the project vision. So a project vision is the shared picture of what the project is trying to achieve. It gives you meanings. It gives you what the outcome means for the stakeholders or people who will be benefiting from that project. Think of a vision this way. A task says build a login page. A vision says make it easy and secure for customers to access their accounts. The task is useful, but the vision guides better decisions. On the exam, when the team is confused, disengaged, or debating directions, the project manager often needs to reconnect people to the project purpose. That's why it's very, very important to understand the vision of your project, even if you are at a level where you are only delivering one part of the big vision. You need to understand and have ability to relate your outcome of the project with the overall organizational strategy and benefits or value it is bringing for the stakeholders. So a good project vision summarizes the project, describes the best achievable outcomes, creates a common picture, and inspires passion for the outcomes. In simple language, everyone should understand where we are going and why it matters. If the vision is too vague, people will um, not understand, or there would be gaps with their own assumptions. If you know where you are heading, it's very important for you to engage your stakeholder and touch the finish line in a better way. For exam, remember that clarity is a leadership responsibility. The project manager helps the team to understand the purpose and not just the task. With that, we will look at collaborating with the project vision. Um, that is very important, and I'm spending a little bit more time on this topic for reasons, because from PMI mindset perspective, this is the core message. The vision means that you are delivering value and not just the outcomes. So these questions are excellent for real project work and for the PMP exam. What does successful work looks like? How will the future be better when the project outcomes are delivered? How will we know if we are drifting from the vision? I want you to type in the chat one word that describes a project you are working on or have worked on. Then ask yourself, or if you don't want to write in the chat write on your notebook, then ask yourself, would every stakeholder describe the purpose of that project the same way? And as a project manager, it is your responsibility to make sure that everybody is aligned. If the answer to this question is no, that is a big risk. Misalignment today becomes rework tomorrow. So very, very important topic to remember as a PM from the work perspective and also from the exam content perspective. So how do we deliver vision is another something we really want to understand to be an effective and great PM and also to pass your PMP exam. So this slide gives you a powerful exam lesson. Do not confuse deliverables with outcomes or outcomes with value. A deliverable is the thing produced. An outcome is the change or benefit created. So, for example, a training manual is a deliverable. Better employee performance is the outcome. A new app is a deliverable. Faster customer service is the outcome. So PMI wants project managers to create and care about outcomes. If an answer focuses only on producing artifacts and ignores whether value is achieved, be careful. The better answer usually protects the intended project purpose. This topic, guys, is a very, very, this is very close to my heart. I actually, as part of one of my job, I guess around in 2013, we were implementing a performance management system for a global company. And we started in Canada and we did the pilot project. So before it was a big project where it was touching every single employee in an organization. And I'm talking about a very big global player here. We started with Canada and we were really, we wanted to make sure the teams were ready to even understand because we were changing the way we were performance managing our employees. So we read this book as part of the preparation. So this is how important your readiness is. And growth, I loved it. This is Carol Dweck's growth mindset. If you get time, please read it. It is not just about project management. It is about your life. So in life, people either have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. A great book to read if you get time. So what is growth mindset? A growth mindset means we use experience as guidance, not as a prison. Just because something worked in one project does not mean it will work in every project. PMP questions often test tailoring. What is the best approach for this situation? A mature project manager does not blindly say, this is how we always do. A mature project manager asks, what does this project need? What have we learned? And how can we improve it? So here's a joke for today. The most dangerous sentence in the project management is, we have always done it same way. That sentence has caused more rework than some software bugs. Trust me on that. So very, very important to remember from the exam perspective, never think like fixed mindset. Always be in growth mindset when you are answering project management questions or delivering a project. Some power skills. Power skills are the human skills that help project management or project managers lead people. Leading people is one of the core job of a PM, right? We all understand that. Communication, empathy, collaboration, innovation for purpose, thinking, and leadership are not soft in the sense of being optional. They are powerful. Many PMP questions are actually people questions. As we saw the breakdown, it is a big chunk of the current exam. You need to really understand this well if you want to pass your PMP exam. And if you want to deliver a successful project, because without your team or people, you cannot get to the finish line. So a team member is upset, a stakeholder is resistant, a sponsor is surprised, a vendor is late. The correct answer often requires communication and relationship management before paperwork. Do not underestimate power skill. On the exam and in real life, projects are delivered by people, not by templates alone. So very, very important point to remember. With that, I am going to get started with our tips. So guys, this is the gold. These are the tips that really helped me to pass my exams, and it is crux of my over a decade experience and knowledge, something that really helped me to pass PMP exam. So the tip number one is very, very important related to PMP mindset. So fixing problems. Do not just report them. Like in exam scenarios, a lot of questions are based around fixing problems. So whenever you see a question that is saying you need to fix a problem, do not just report them. When something goes wrong, PMI expects the project managers to be proactive. That does not mean hiding information. It means first understanding the issue, and then trying to solve it at all the right levels. Think of yourself as a captain of a ship. If there is water coming in, you do not start by writing a beautiful report about the leak. You first try to stop the water and then communicate and then document and escalate if needed. So, exam triggers words including issue arises, problem occurs, conflict emerges, or risk management. The best answer usually allows the project manager assessing impact and taking corrective action before escalating. So, best move here is always choose the answer that shows PM taking corrective actions first. And also make sure you pay attention to this first or next word, because a lot of times that changes the meaning of your question. So read the question very carefully. All right, so I'll let you review this. Anybody who's taking the notes, while I'll take a little bit of water because I'm really thirsty right now. All righty. Feel free to put in the chat if you have any questions. So with that, guys, let's look at tip number 1 and how do we apply it in the exam scenarios. So we will review a question together here. So a key team member informs the project manager that a critical deliverable will be delayed by 3 days due to a personal emergency. What should the project manager do? Word at the end of the question where it says first. So what the PMI is asking here, what a PM has to do first. So notify the sponsor immediately and request a schedule extension. We never go to sponsor as like first step. Update the project schedule to reflect the delay. We do not do that as first step because we need to understand what is being updated, and project manager is not the boss. Project manager is a facilitator. The SMEs, the people working on these project actually needs to be really connected, and we need to understand their perspective before we update the schedule. So this is something we do not do as first step. Assess the impact and identify alternative resources or solution. So I'll come back to that. And then the fourth option is document the issue in the risk register. So is that something we do as the first? We do not document the issues in the risk register as first steps because we need to understand what the risk is. We need to go to the risk owner. We need to understand the impact, and then we enter the details. So what do you think? Which question is right? Yes, guys. Alrighty, so C is the correct answer. So we want to assess the impact and identify alternative resources or solution. So another something, I really want you to understand from PMP perspective is that every question is different and every question has different options. So we need to understand and pick one best option. So sometimes we know the best option is very intuitive. Other times you need to eliminate the wrong option. So, like in this question, we wanted to see that sponsor. Oh no, not a first step to go change schedule or put things in the register. So these are kind of like the eliminators, and that gives us the right answer. So PM should first understand the full impact of the delay and explore options to mitigate it before escalating or updating the documentation. So that's it. Directly test the fix first report second mindset. Escalating or updating document without the first assessing them is not the right option. With that, let's go to our next option. So it looks like, we need to speed up few slides because we already have, we almost covered like 45 minutes down. So we have an hour and 25 minutes left. An hour and maybe 15 minutes left. So I will be skipping through some slides which are kind of similar in terms of concept. So this is another important point: communicate proactively, do not wait to be asked. So this is a question, whenever a stakeholder is unaware, sponsor has to be informed, team members has concerns, risk has been identified. So these are kind of like the trigger keywords here. We want to make sure that we choose the answer that shows the PMI communication relevant information promptly to the right audience at the right level of details without waiting to be asked. So be proactive in communication. PMI expects project managers to keep stakeholder informed at all the time proactively. So if you know something that affects the project, the sponsor, or the team, you communicate it without being prompted. So next question related to the previous tip, I would like you to read the question, and I'm going to go quickly describe the mindset behind it and explain, and then move to the next question. Feel free to watch this video again if you want to review the questions in detail, but we'll have to really skip faster as we do not have a lot of time to cover all the questions I've put here. So the key here is that the sponsor is a key stakeholder who needs timely information about risks to the project completion. So in the previous question we saw, we do not go to the sponsor first, but in situations like this, we go to the sponsor because they have to be informed proactively as per this mindset. So waiting or acting unilaterally is never a right option because it's not aligned with PMI communication standards. So proactive upward communication with proposed solution is the PMI preferred behavior. Never sit on the information that affects key stakeholders. The next tip is engage stakeholders early and often. So here the main point is that stakeholder engagement is not one activity, it is a continuous process, and you have to make sure that you are engaging them throughout the process. PMI believes that stakeholder engagement is continuous. You don't just identify stakeholders at the beginning and then move on. You actively manage their expectations, involvement, and concerns throughout the entire project. If stakeholders are resistant, disengaged, or uninformed, that's PM's problem, not a stakeholder problem. You, as PMs, own the relationship. And this is something very, very important from the exam questions. So resistance from stakeholder is equal to signal to engage more, not less. So choose the answers that shows the PMI engaging the stakeholders directly. PM is engaging the stakeholders directly, meeting with them, understanding their concerns, involving them in decisions rather than ignoring, escalating, or working around them. Our next tip is, so this is a question, I will just explain it. Guys, you have the question on the screen, you have the 4 options. So feel free not to look at the answers before you want to answer it. Feel free to watch the video again because we will be skipping them quickly because of the best interest of time. So here, disengagement is a warning sign. The PM should address it directly and personally and not escalate or bypass the stakeholder. So questions like that, they test the engage early and engage often mindset. So PMI expects a project manager to treat stakeholders disengagement as a relationship management challenge, one they own and must solve directly. Our next mindset is managing the conflict. So conflict on a project is normal. PMI does not expect you to eliminate it, but expect you to address it constructively. The PM's job is to create a safe environment where disagreements are resolved openly and collaboratively. Avoiding conflict is equal to wrong answer almost every time on the PMP exam. So the best move you can make from exam perspective is choose the answer that shows the PMI facilitating of open dialogue between the conflicting parties to reach mutually acceptable resolution. Avoid answers that suppress, ignore, or unilaterally decide. The trigger words or keywords here would be conflict between team members, disagreement, tensions, dispute, opposing views, etc., etc. Let's look at a question here related to the mindset we just reviewed. So in the interest of time, I'm going to just give you the tip you need to understand in order to answer questions like that. So PM should actively facilitate, not avoid, not dictate, not delegate upward. Structured dialogue is PM's preferred conflict resolution method. So this question tests whether you are managing conflict directly and constructively. PMI consistently rewards the collaborative problem solving over avoiding or authority based resolutions. Our next tip is empower your team. People are the big part of the project success. We cannot lead a project without people. So your team is something very, very important to you and very, very important from the PMI exam lens. So PMI's model is PM is a servant leader. Your job is to clear obstacles, provide resources, and create conditions to your team to succeed, not to do the work for them or hover over every decision. So PM is not a doer. PM is not a SME. PM does not need to know at all. PM is facilitator, but PM's responsibility is to make sure to engage the SMEs, the people who are running the show. And the key here is to empower them. Do not micromanage. Micromanagement is never a solution. Empowerment is equal to higher performance in the correct PMI mindset. So very important take from exam and also delivering the successful project perspective. There is another question that tests your ability to understand the previous tip. So with that, I will move to the next one. Plan first, then execute. So we never jump to conclusion as a project manager, and this is not the PMI mindset as well. PMI believes in disciplined planning. Before you jump into doing, you need a very clear, agreed upon plan. If something changes, update the plan first, then execute the change. So skipping planning to save time is a trap that would be in a lot of distractor questions in PMP exam. Unplanned actions create rework, scope creep, and confusion. The exam will test whether you know the planning is never a waste of time. Any change to scope, schedule, or cost requires an updated plan and formal approval before taking an action. So some of the keywords in these type of situations would be change request, scope change, schedule change, stakeholders want to add new requirements identified. So when you see that type of question, you want to understand what they are looking for. So your best move in the exam would be choose the answer that shows PM is following the change control process if it's predictive, assessing impact, updating the plan, getting approval before implementing any change. This is the waterfall approach mostly where we have control boards. In agile projects, you always consult with the product owner and he's the ultimate decision maker. With that, I will give you maybe 5 minutes to maybe jot down your thoughts together. If you have any questions, I'm here and I will be waiting for your questions. I am going to look at the questions. Hello and welcome back, guys. I hope you enjoyed your little break. So let's dive deep right in. Looking at another tip or mindset or principle, whatever you want to call it. Focus on root cause and not just symptoms. So it is human tendency to actually jump to conclusions. As a PM, this is something you do not ever want to do. When a problem keeps coming back or when something goes wrong, PMI expects you to dig deeper and find the root cause of the problem, not just treat the surface issue. Putting bandage on a wound that needs surgery is not project management, it is avoidance. So ask why until you find the real cause, then fix that. A good PM solves problems permanently and not temporarily. So repeated problems on a project is equal to failure to address root cause. PMI will test it directly. So the keywords for these type of questions you will see: recurring issues, same problem keep occurring, team keeps making the same error, quality issues persist. So choose the answer that shows the PM is conducting root cause analysis and implementing a permanent corrective action, not just a quick fix or a workaround. One of the questions that test that rule we just reviewed. So I would leave it with you to watch after for the sake of time, and I will give you a little bit explanation of why the correct answer is correct. So correcting a recurring defect without finding its root cause is reactive and wasteful. PMI expects the PM to investigate and eliminate the source of the problem. So, recurring problems signal a systemic failure. The PMI mindset demands you to address root cause, not treat the symptoms. This is a core quality management and continuous improvement principle. The next principle we want to look at is manage risks before they become issues. So, a quick definition here, if we are not aware, or just as a refresher, um, risk is something that is anticipated, issue is something that has already happened. So, anytime you look at issue or risk related question, make sure that you keep in mind that if has already happened, it's an issue. If it's anticipated, it is a risk. PMI. So PMI rewards the PMI rewards PMs who anticipate problems before they actually happen or become an issue. Risk management is not about being pessimistic, it's about being prepared. If you can see a risk coming, you plan for it. If risk is materialized and you had no plan, there is a failure from a PM part. Think of risk management as the difference between a proactive leader and a reactive firefighter. So leaders plan and firefighters fight when the issues are already there. PMI always reward the proactive leaders. So a risk with no response plan is a problem waiting to happen. PMI will hold the PM accountable. So keywords here are risk identified, potential problem, may affect the project, probability of delays, and uncertain events. So uncertainty is equal to risk. Choose the answers that show the PM assessing, documenting, and creating a response plan for the risk before it becomes an issue. Ignoring risks or waiting to act is always a wrong choice. The next rule here, ethics first. So guys, one thing I have learned over the years of my experience and reading all the standards, so you know that I have done all major certifications from PMI. I'm one of those few people who have hold all major PMI certifications, and all the standards I've read, there is one thing that is very consistent across all PMI certifications and all the guiding principles: ethics always comes first. So PMI's code of conduct says that ethics and professional conduct is not optional. It is the foundation of everything a project manager do, even a program manager or portfolio manager. Everywhere at the workplace when you're working, ethics should be your first choice. When faced with a question involving pressure to cut corners, cover up information, or act against the organizational interest, you always choose the ethical path. Even if the sponsor asks, even if the it is inconvenient to be ethical, even if it delays the project, ethics and transparency are non-negotiable for project manager work and also for the PMP exam. So, no business reason justifies unethical behavior on the PMP exam ever. So, remember, no business reason justifies unethical behavior. And this is one of the points where you want to remember that even if you see a big impact on the value delivery or outcome delivery or the, you know, or the goals, never ever choose unethical behavior over anything. The words that would help you to understand the scenario would be conflict of interest, ask to falsify, pressure to hide, vendor offering gifts, team members acting improperly. So choose the answer that shows the PMI acting with integrity at all times. Transparency has to be there, and honesty is not a choice. It is a must do thing throughout your project. Reporting issues, disclosing conflicts, and refusing to participate in unethical behavior is needed regardless of the consequences. So please remember that. That is one tip that if you understand fully, I think you'll be able to tackle a few questions without any hesitation. So this is a question. We'll pause this and feel free to, just review the video, pause it, and look at that at your own time. So the next principle is how to eliminate wrong answers quickly. So we looked at a lot of principles in the previous slides. So here we are looking at some of the tips at a very high level you can remember on top of your head. So these are the situations which are very generic, and mostly, understanding this will help you to mark some questions, right? So whenever you say, see, do nothing, wait and see, PMI never rewards inaction. So do nothing is most of the time wrong answer. Escalate first. Unless you already tried to resolve it yourself, you are not supposed to escalate. So escalation first is not a choice ever. Ignore the stakeholders. Ignoring stakeholders mean project failure in most of the cases, because people are the project management or project enablers, and without them you cannot do that. So do not ignore stakeholders ever. Anytime it says ignore stakeholders, most probably it's a wrong option. Implement the change without approval. So change control is mandatory, right? Even if you are in a predictive environment, waterfall environment, agile environment, there could be a formal process or there could be a product owner who will make the decision, but you do not implement any change on your own without approval from the required person or the team. So blame the team or stakeholders. This is never an option. So the PM owns the relationship, and blaming the team is not the right answer in almost all of the cases. So few patterns: assess first, then act, communicate proactively, follow the process, collaborate and facilitate, and root cause over systems. So when two answers both seem proactive, choose the one that follows the formal PMI process. Assess impact, update documentation, get approval, and then act. Some additional elimination pattern. So guys, these are the things you don't find in any books, or these are the lessons learned kind of tips. So never skip planning. So any answer that implements a change, workaround, or solution without updating the plan first is wrong. PMI considers unplanned execution as PM failure, regardless of urgency or stakeholder pressure. Never ever consider ethics overriding everything. If one answer is clearly the ethical choice and then the other is convenient, choice always picks the ethics. No business justification, schedule pressure, sponsor request can override PM's code of ethics. Team empowerment over control is very important. Answers that show the PM micromanaging, doing the team's work, or overriding team decisions are almost wrong. PMI rewards servant leadership and supporting and enabling teams, not controlling them. Lessons learned are continuous. So most of the time when I'm talking to PMs, like sometimes they think lessons learned is one activity at the end of the project, which is not the case. So just gather your lessons throughout the project lifecycle, and any answers that defers lessons learned to project closure only is a wrong option. PMI expects continuous learning at phase gates, sprints, retrospectives, and major milestones throughout the project lifecycle. So simulate the real exam experience where possible, guys. So before you take the exam date, take multiple full-length practice exams, follow the real exam timing structure, practice taking breaks at the same intervals. Practice makes perfect. So if you are writing your exam, we currently have 75% discount on our next cohort, which is May 8th. Feel free to join the class, and with that you get free simulator and our AI study buddy that will be at your assistance 24/7. So feel free to visit our website at snsccs.com, visit our LinkedIn page, or review our YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe the channel, because we will be sending more information your way every week. Always review incorrect answers and understand the logic. So practice makes perfect, guys. You need to practice it. This is not something you can understand in one day. It is a continuous practice process that will help you to pass your exams. So, three words matter in PMP preparation, guys: consistency, active learning, and accountability. Consistency means studying in regular blocks instead of trying to cram everything in one weekend. Active learning means solving questions, explaining concepts, and reviewing mistakes. Accountability means having a plan and someone or something that keeps you honest. Please type in the chat one word that describes your current study style: consistent, random, stuck, confident, or starting. Not no judgment. Awareness is the beginning of the improvement. So self-awareness is very important, and this is something we really appreciate at SNS. So when we are coaching, we really try to understand our students, their learning styles. We keep them honest and keep them on track. We customize roadmap as per your personal abilities, experience, and knowledge, and we always have work back plan from your exam date. So regardless of if your exam is in 20 days, 10 days, or 30 days, or 60 days, or 90 days, we tailor the roadmap based on your time availability. I have helped people pass the exam in a week to 3 months to maybe whatever length is appropriate for you. So it is very important for you to understand your learning style. You have somebody who can hold you accountable every day, and you make the best use of your time. If you are not able to do it alone. Feel free to look at our LinkedIn page or our website and look at the next cohorts. May 8 is the next cohort. That still gives you a chance to pass your exam before it changes. And we currently have 75% discount on that. So with that, let's move to the next slide. So these are some of the reference we have where we have taken material from. So here, guys, I want to pause again. We have reviewed some very, very important principles or mindset, or call it tips from PMI. PMI is not a memory test, as I always say that. PMI is the test to understand your ability to run project and make decisions under stress. So if you're writing exam before July or after, this will be a core concept that you really need to understand. So that's why we spent a lot of time, more than half time, on reviewing the mindset that you need to understand to pass your PMP exam, because I believe that is the most important part of your exam preparation. As a PM, we all understand the project management, the concepts in project management, because one of the requirement to write your exam is 3 years experience. And as a PM, we understand the topics, but the real challenge comes to understand the topic and then answer the question as per PMI expectation. In our daily life, the environment is not ideal. If I'm a PM who worked in maybe a team which is not very mature, or a PMO which is not very mature, or an organization that is not very mature, I might understand project management as per what I've seen in my last years of experience. One of the benefit of PMP is that it really actually helps you to understand the best practices that are tested globally, and they are not industry or organization agnostic. So PMP is not just an exam, it is a way forward for you regardless of where you are at in your career at this point. So our first topic is the value introduction here from the core concepts. Value is the benefit gained from a project compared with the investment. It can be monetary or non-monetary. It can be tangible or intangible. A simple example: if a project reduces processing time, increases customer satisfaction, improves safety, or helps meet a regulation, it creates value. The key exam point is that value is not the same as deliverables. A deliverable is what you produce. Value is the benefit that production creates. If the team produces exactly what was requested, but the organization does not get any use of that benefit, the project may not be as successful in terms of value. So something very, very important to remember, that every project has a reason for its existence. It's not operational work. It is unique initiative that is solving a problem and creating some value. So the value is in the eyes of beholder. So people who are going to be using that product or benefit should really see that value, and that's where you actually mature the value. Otherwise, you will be delivering results, but that does not mean that you are delivering the project with success. So success does not mean on time, on budget, on scope. Success means delivering value to the organization or the owner of the project. So so we have a question, guys. Let me really look at my other screen. So for the PM exam, how should I use the PMBA guide, ECHO, PMI Code of Ethics, and Agile Practice Guide together when answering scenario-based questions? Great question, guys. So one myth I really want you to understand is that PMP is not PMBOK test. So there are a lot of concepts that are not even in PMBOK. Yes, at the code of ethics is very important because ethical questions are pretty black and white. There's no intuition, imagination in that. So, and it is, once you read the code of ethics, that really helps you to understand and answer the ethical questions. Exam content outline is something the most important because that really helps you to understand what you will be tested against and help you to prepare. It's not the PMBOK. So I would say understanding the outline is more important than understanding every. I mean, it is very important to understand every concept in the PMBOK, but PMBOK is not the sole content criteria. I hope I answered your question. With that, let's move to the next concept. It's 6:21, guys, and we have another maybe around 39 minutes to go. So I really want to make sure that I cover all the major topics that are very important for you to know. So value can come from creating a new product, service, or result. It can also come from positive contribution, improved efficiency, improved productivity, enabling change, or sustaining benefits. This matters because PMP questions may not always talk about money. Sometimes value is faster service, better compliance, happier employees, reduced risk, improved data quality, or smoother operations. When reading a scenario, ask yourself what value is the project trying to protect or creating. The question helps you choose better answer. So, very important concept. So, value can be provided or created by new product, creating positive contribution, improving efficiency, productivity, enabling changes, and sustaining benefits. So, very important topic again, and particularly, very relevant to your work. Um, and again, and that is where we see the real value in PMP or knowing these concepts because we are again sitting at the crossroads where AI and automation is the future state, and that means change. So wherever we are going from current state to a future state, we require some sort of project management here. And that's why there's, really potential opportunity for PMs to grab and get promoted in your career. So business value is the net benefit from a business effort. It can be tangible, intangible, or both. A project manager should not think about business value only at the beginning and at the end. Value should be considered throughout the project. Are we still solving the right problem? Are stakeholders still aligned? Are we delivering the outcomes expected? This is especially important in adaptive projects where feedback may changes priorities as learning increases. Very important to remember from an exam point of view. With that, we will move to our stakeholder vision and communication area. Typical project stakeholders, a stakeholder is anyone who may affect or be affected by or believe they are affected by the project. That includes end users, customers, employees, managers, sponsors, business partners, suppliers, contractors, government, and communities. Some are active every day, some are only involved at approval points. Some may be affected even if they never attend a meeting. Chat question. Type 1 stakeholder you often forget in projects. Common answers are end users, operations team, compliance teams, support teams, or external vendors. The forgotten stakeholders often become the loudest stakeholders later. So, one thing to remember here, guys, stakeholders can be people who are positively impacted by the project or people who are negatively impacted by the project. So, we have to maintain and engage them all. Stakeholder Identification is not one-time exercise. As we reviewed earlier, you may identify stakeholders from the business case, benefit management plan, requirement, issue logs, change logs, or conversations. Ask who has interest, involvement, influence, interdependencies, or impact on the project success. So also ask who can make this project easier or harder. The exam lesson is clear here. Identify and engage stakeholders early to avoid surprises later. Surprise stakeholders are rarely happy stakeholders. So it's not, again, identify them early enough, but it is a continuous process. It's not one activity that stops at any time in the project life cycle. Assessing stakeholder after identifying is another crucial topic. This can be done through questionnaires, surveys, brainstorming, document analysis, and stakeholder analysis. The process is to understand whose interests must be considered and how best to engage them. Power interest grid, power influence grid, stakeholder cubes, silence models, and directions of influence are tools to help you think very clearly. Do not memorize tools as isolated vocabulary. Understand their purpose. We assess stakeholders so we can communicate and engage them properly. So this is something really cover holistically and in depth. And this is something I really make sure my students understand. Stakeholder is a big topic, and for current exam, the people domain is pretty, very where we have a lot of weight, and a lot of questions related to people are very tricky in terms of there are no black and white theories or answers. So you really want to understand the stakeholder related topics very well if you want to pass your exam. So stakeholder register, the stakeholder register is where stakeholder information is captured. It may include names, roles, interests. There is an example on the screen. On the exam, if a new stakeholder appears or stakeholder information changes, the stakeholder register may need to be updated. This is part of the keeping project information current and correct at all times. Remember, documentation is not paperwork. For paperwork's sake, do not do that, but make sure you understand that you have new stakeholders, they have new needs, you understand their needs, and you try to engage and inspire them. This is a quick slide that shows us, how to capture the feedback. A pretty intuitive slide. Different stakeholder groups need different engagement methods. Key stakeholders may need interviews. All stakeholders may need regular communication. Large public groups may need surveys, facilitated sessions, digital media posters, or broad communication campaigns. The project manager should also use active listening, emotional intelligence, and effective communication methods. The exam often gives you a stakeholder who's unhappy or misunderstood. So the best answer is usually not to send more generic updates. The best answer is to understand the stakeholder's perception and tailor communication. So another something very important from the exam perspective, any communication that is sending one email to all is ideally not the right answer when we are dealing with an individual who is in trouble, or we are dealing with some sort of communication concern. It's always better to understand the issue and address the stakeholders impacted, except of like a generic big email to everybody. So direction of influence, you should understand the social network of project stakeholders, specifically the direction of their influence on the project. So stakeholder influence projects in different directions. Some influence upward, like sponsors and executives. Some influence down sideways, like peers and other departments. Some influence downwards, like team leads. Some influence outward, like regulations, customers, communities. So understanding influence helps you decide how to communicate and who needs involvement. The PMP exam may not say direction of influence directly, but it may describe a stakeholder relationship. Read the power dynamic carefully. So I really struggled with what should I add versus what should I leave, because every topic is very important. We have a lot more to cover in our 35-hour exam, so feel free to join our next cohort on May 8th. So this concept is important, and that's why I did it here. So the stakeholder is a huge group of people. So stakeholders could be internal or external. Internal stakeholders are inside the organization, such as employees, departments, managers, and internal support team. External stakeholders are outside of the organization, such as clients, users, regulators, suppliers, and communities. Internal stakeholders often need resources, support, decisions, and information. External stakeholders often care about needs, promises, requirements, compliance, or service outcomes. Do not assume anytime in exam that one group is more important than the other. Importance depends on the project concept. In PMP questions, the stakeholders with the biggest impact on success needs to be properly engaged. So I hope that really helped you to understand the stakeholder from this different perspectives. So stakeholder engagement we talk about, and we talked about vision. This slide gives creative ways to align people around the vision. A product box exercise helps stakeholders describe the solution as it were marketing it. That forces them to think about features, benefits, and values. An extreme programming metaphor creates a shared story of how the system works. The point is not the technical itself, the point is shared understanding. When people do not share the same vision, they make different decisions. Good communication reduces the hidden assumption. And guys, this is really important from the team building perspective. And that brings us to our new slide on team building. So, shared vision is always very important, and that helps you to make sure that your team is always aligned. So, team building is not just pizza and awkward icebreaker. Although, let's be honest, pizza has helped many projects survive, but real-time team building creates trust, unity, empathy, and focus on team over the individuals. It can be formal or informal, short or extended, led by project managers or led by a facilitator. For the exam, if morale is low, if the team's morale is low, collaboration is weak, or trust is missing, the project manager should actively support team development. Ignoring team health is not a strong PMP answer. So PMI considers that team engagement and keeping the morale high and positive is PM's responsibility. So if you understand that concept, that would help you to understand a lot of questions. Again, clarity prevents confusion, collaboration drives success, and roles should fit the context. So many project problems comes from unclear ownership. Two people think the other person is doing the task, or nobody knows who can approve the decision. In PMP questions, if the issue is confusion about responsibility, the project managers may need to clarify rules. Update the responsibility assignment metrics, or facilitate alignment. I have included this here because this is something very important to understand. In project management, day to day, we have owners of activities, tasks, risks, issues, and we want to make sure that they know that they owns the work. So if a role, if in a project we identify a big risk and it does not have an owner, you'll never be able to tackle the risk. So that is the approach PMI wants to you to understand. So team formation is another topic that really helps you to pass the PMP exam. A self-organization team is cross-functional team where people can fluidly assume leadership as needed. Servant leadership means leading by understanding and addressing the needs of the team so they can perform at their best. These concepts are not only for agile teams. Any project team can benefit from clarity, trust, empowerment, and support. The exam likes servant leadership. If the team is capable, empowered, they will be more likely to succeed. If they are blocked, remove the obstacles. If they need help, coach and support. Do not micromanage. So, another topic or something, something you really need to understand from the delivering projects successfully or being a successful project manager, you need to establish expectations. Before setting expectations, make sure the team understands the overall project objectives, the why behind the project, and how their work contributes to business value and success criteria. People work better when they understand purpose. If the team only sees tasks, motivation may drop. If the team understands value, they can make better decisions. So, for the exam, when teams are confused or misaligned, look for answers that clarify objectives, success criteria, and shared expectations. So, guys, those who have maybe some of you maybe have done change management certification or ProSci is another certification that a lot of PMs do. So, if you are aware of the change management theory or models, you understand that setting expectation is a part of the readiness, and it's the important one of the most important for to have a successful project, particularly from people perspective. So that takes us to the next topic, which is planning, scope, value, resources, finance, risk. We will not go in depth into these topics because of the time limitation. We have another 23 minutes together. So I will quickly walk you through some of the topics I thought would be very important for you to understand in this class, to get the very to sync it with the mindset. So scope definition, scope is what is included in the project. Project scope is the work needed to be delivered, the product that you want to create, service you want to provide, or a result you want to deliver. Product scope is the feature and functions of the product or result itself. In simple terms, product scope describes what we are building, project scope describes the work required to build it. So the distinction matters in change questions. A requested feature may affect product scope, but it also may affect the project scope because the team needs extra work, time, cost, testing, and approval. So, fixed scope versus flexible scope. Fixed scope means the scope is predetermined and expected to remain stable through the project life cycle. This is common in predictive approaches or waterfall or traditional, we call them, when requirements are understood very well. Flexible scope means scope that can adapt and learning habits. This is common in agile or adaptive approaches, where the team may refine the backlog based on feedback and values. Neither is automatically better. PMP wants tailoring. Choose the approach that fits the project context, uncertainty, stakeholder needs, and delivery method. So, guys, that's why in PMP exam, the context really is the king. So context matters. You need to understand the scenario. You need to understand the situation in the question. You need to understand the question, what it means, what PMI is testing here, and what they are asking. So make sure you understand and respond accordingly. There's no cookie cutter answers here. So your scope, changes could be heavily, managed through control boards, or your team would be very open to feedback when you're building a product where you have a lot of unknowns. So understand the context and then answer the question. So here we see business value again. The repetition is intentional because PMP cares about value very deeply. A project manager should keep asking whether the project still supports the expected business benefits. If the market changes, the stakeholder needs changing, or the assumptions changes, the project may need review. Do not be deliverable. Um, do not be a deliverable machine. Be a value focused project leader. So, a good example here would be, for example, you are building a product, and maybe there is a change in the legislation, and as per the new legislation, that product cannot be used anymore. You don't just blindly keep on building that product, you analyze the impact and you take actions appropriately. So, this is where what we are trying to establish here. Monitoring project scope, is important. Project scope means making sure the project is delivering what was agreed and controlling changes appropriately. And predictive work, that may mean validating deliverables, managing scope baseline changes, and preventing uncontrolled scope creeps. In adaptive work, it may mean backlog refinements, acceptance criteria, definition of ready, and definition of done. So the exam lesson is that scope needs active management. Hope is not a scope control technique, guys. So just wanted to let you know that I am trying to speak a little bit faster so I can cover more topics. My goal here is to give you a audio, a lesson that you can play while you're driving or playing or doing house chores or working, that would help you to understand these mindsets, because repetitively listening to this will help you to understand the concepts better. And feel free to book a free session with me for 15 minutes if you want to review your journey with me. So I have a question, but let me quickly finish this slide and then we can spend some time here. So definition of ready and definition of done. Adaptive teams need to know when they can be ready to do the work and when that work is done. Definition of done means the work meets the criteria requirement to be considered complete and usable. Think of definition of ready as we are prepared to start. Think of definition of done as we can honestly say this is complete. So this prevents misunderstanding. Without readiness, teams start work with missing information. Without done criteria, people argue at the end about whether something is complete or not. For the exam, DOR or DOD, so definition of ready or definition of done, DOR or DOD support clarity, quality, and stakeholder alignment in adaptive environment. Let's look at our risk slide now. So it is very important to understand, guys, what is a risk? Because as a PM, one thing you're constantly monitoring is risk management. And this is where, based on the impact or probability of risk, you really want to keep your stakeholders engaged. So that is something very important from exam perspective as well. So let's quickly look at what risk means. So a risk is an uncertain event or condition that, if occurs, has a positive or negative effect on project objectives. Notice two things. First, risk is uncertain. If it already has happened, it is an issue and not a risk. Second, risk can be positive or negative. Important to remember from exam perspective. A positive risk is an opportunity. A negative risk is a threat. Most students think of risk only as the threat, like delay or cost increase, but a risk can also be an opportunity, a chance to improve results, such as new technology becoming available or a vendor offering faster delivery. I think that really resonates with what is happening in industry right now. So AI is everywhere. It's not the future, it is the present. And I have seen all the organization one way or another using AI. So for some people, it's an opportunity where, they are entering the AI and grabbing the opportunities because there is more demand than supply right now. And there are other people who are inactive and they will be the victim. So for them, it's a threat. If you do not learn AI or be part of that in some capacity, it could be a threat because your job could be taken away by those who know AI. So remember, guys, AI is not a threat. Threat is from those people who know AI. So people who know AI may be taking the job from those who don't know. So this is really a good example that resonated with me. So risk is something that could be positive or negative, and it is an anticipation. It has not happened yet. Risk response planning, from risk management to work. Every risk should have an owner. A response strategy should be there. A trigger conditions, when appropriate, should be monitored. A risk owner is the one who watches the risk. Our response plan says what we will do. Trigger tells us when to act. So the exam may be testing this by showing a risk that was identified but not acted on. The best project manager does not just fill in a register and forget about it. They monitor risk, active responses, and keep stakeholders informed at all times. And with that, going back to the stakeholders are always very important. Keeping expectations described is important. Making sure role assignment is very clear. Accountabilities are very clear. So that is why people are center of everything we do in project management, and very, very important to understand that every risk should have an owner. Another important something I really wanted to review with you today is that how do we respond to threats? There are 5 possible actions to be taken when dealing with threats. So threat is a negative risk, right? We need to exploit opportunities. We need to avoid risk. We need to avoid them to start with. If it's not possible to avoid, we mitigate it. If we cannot mitigate it, we transfer it, or we escalate or accept. So these are some of the few possible actions that we can take while dealing with threats. Avoiding, it means, just eliminate it. To accepting means, we add it into our plan and we say that, okay, this is something which may not have high impact or high probability, or maybe try to mitigate or transfer it would cost you more than accepting it. So these are the situation where you can accept the risk. Key steps in monitoring and controlling project risks. So keep watching, check responses, monitor risk levels, watch for new risks, evaluate approach, follow policies and processes, monitor contingencies, and confirm project management strategy. Another very important topic is controlling changes. We did periodically review it in the previous slides, but let's quickly look at next slide that really shows us one example from predictive change management process flowchart. As we discussed earlier, the change process could vary drastically based on the organization, industry you work in, or based on the project methodology you're using. If you're in predictive, this is what change looks like. So change request is initiated. Change usually follows a formal process in predictive environment. So a change request is raised, impact is analyzed, the change control board or authorized decision makers review it, and then the project document manager documents it. and baselines are updated if the change is approved. The exam loves to test sequence. Do not implement first and ask later. So do not reject automatically. Do not say yes because the stakeholder is senior. Assess impact and follow change control. This is one of the most reliable PMP pattern. Change request means analyze, document, approve, and then implement. So, as project manager, you know, it is my responsibility to remove the obstacles, as we discussed earlier. And impediment slows progress. An obstacle is a challenge that requires a strategic response. A blocker stops progress completely. In simple language, an impediment is like traffic. Uh, you are moving, but slowly. An obstacle is like a road closure where you need another route. A blocker is like the bridge is out and nobody is moving until it is fixed. So the project manager should not ignore these. Since the project team creates most of the business value, anything that slows or stops the team deserves attention. For PMP, look for answers that remove impediment, support the team, and restore flow. So, supporting organizational change, another something very important. Organizational, guys, let me go back. I just want to really review this with you. So, projects often create change, and change affects people. So, project managers need to understand organizational culture and change impacts. A technically successful project can still fail if the organization is not ready to adopt the results. So we as project managers have seen a lot of times where there are adoption projects happening, and the reason for that is that a system is implemented and people are not using it. So a good project managers understand change management just not from the project control perspective, but from organizational change perspective as well. So organizational culture includes leadership styles, authority, shared beliefs, risk tolerance policies, code of conduct, operating environment, and reward system. So as a PM, I should be very well versed with that. Culture affects project behavior. In one organization, people may speak openly about risks. In another, people may hide bad news until it's too late. So in one organization, approvals may be fast. In other, every decision may need many signatures. So a good project manager reads the culture and tailors communication, stakeholder engagement, and change strategy accordingly. When organizational change affects a project, the project manager should assess the culture, evaluate the impact, recommend options, and keep monitoring the business environment at all times. For the sake of time, we'll go to the next slide that talks about continuous improvement. So, lessons learned are insights gained from project experience. They help future project avoid problem and repeat success. A lesson can come from a success, not only from a failure. If something worked well, capture why it worked well, so others can benefit. The exam often tests whether lessons learned should be captured throughout the project, not only during the closing. So very important lesson from exam perspective, that capturing a lessons learned and then leveraging them is a continuous process, and it is not one-off thing. Gathering lessons learned, good lessons learned sessions need a safe environment, and and there are a few important points about that. With that, we will go to the closure, and in the interest of time, we'll skip that slide. Feel free to go through the slides in your own time and replay the video. Closing project or phase activities is important part of the project. Closing a project or phase includes acceptance of deliverables, transition to the customer or operations team, notifying organizational functions, updating OPAs, preparing the final report, closing contracts and obligations, achieving information and archiving everything you are doing, and releasing resources that is not needed anymore. That's a lot, but the idea is simple: finish cleanly. So a messy closure creates future problem. People do not know who owns the product. Finance accounts stay open. Lessons are lost. Resources remain confused. The final report captures performance across scope, schedule, quality, cost, and risk. So on the exam, do not skip the closure activities just because the deliverable is finished. So this technically is make or break impression at the part of project manager. So make sure that we close the project as properly as we initiate the project. Here are a few tips. You need to obtain stakeholder approvals, and it is very important to make sure that people perceive the value they intended when the project was initiated. Resource and asset reallocation is very important at the closure state, as we discussed. So resources need to be reallocated appropriately when the project closes. Transition readiness is something very, very important. When we are done with the project. So transition readiness means the project output is ready to move into operations or customer use. As we said, every project has an end date, and after the project is completed, it needs to be moved to operations most of the scenarios. So ask who will support this after the project team leaves. If you are mature and a good project manager, you just do not assume that I'm done with the product building and here's my job done. You need to make sure that the transition to operation is done with highest standards. So with that, we will move to next steps. So one thing I really want you to understand, if you are writing your PMP exam soon, your expectation or motivation fluctuates. You need to make sure that you keep yourself motivated throughout the duration of your preparation. Try these tactics. Schedule study time on your calendar, remove distractions, ask family or co-workers for support. And on top of that, feel free to connect with us. We will keep you grounded, accountable, and provide you roadmap, and will keep you motivated. We are not like typical, exam like training providers who will leave you alone. We will give you a roadmap to start with, which is customized as per your requirement. We give you a 24/7 study buddy. We give you simulators, and we give you regular nudges. Sometimes, like my team will nudge you and they will ask you, why did you not complete your simulator yesterday that you were supposed to finish? We also analyze your results throughout, and I sometimes have one-on-one sessions with students where I feel like, maybe they are constantly answering some type of questions or certain functional area questions wrong, and it looks like they don't understand the concept. We set up time with you to go over that. So feel free to connect. We have our next session on May 8th, and we have currently 75% discount going on. So leverage it and book your session. Set milestone rewards. So, when you achieve something, make sure you reward yourself, and that will keep you stay motivated. Decide where to take your exam. There are a couple of options we have. You can take exam in person or online based on your preference. You can pick whatever is best for you. And with that, just a little bit about the next live bootcamp by SNS offers 75% discount. Feel free to visit our website and leverage this. PMP exam is changing in July. If you are ready, please take your exam. This special discount is for those people who really want to clear their exam before it changes. So join our PMP bootcamp. With SNS, we are premium authorized training partners, and I'm one of the top certified in the world when it comes to PMI certification. So you are in safe hands. Thank you so very much for joining. I see that we have a lot of YouTube activity. So thank you so much, people who joined us from YouTube. And thank you, friends, for making a time. I hope this is helpful. And I'm sure it would be more helpful when you watch it again. It would really help you to understand the core concept. Thank you so very much for joining, and good luck. And hopefully those who are taking exam will see you on May 8th. Thank you and goodbye.